Okay, my name is Rohan. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Mansi.
I'm 10.
All right, and where do you live?
I live in Jersey City. How about you?
I live in Pasadena. I'm a professor at Caltech. I'm happy to answer your questions. Go for it.
Okay, what were you like as a child?
Yeah, so when I was your age, I was just extremely curious, right? I had a lot of questions. I loved to read. My teachers were very patient with me. They pointed me to different books and different resources to kindle my curiosity further, right? So, and I loved reading. That was the other thing. I just loved just learning more. And I was interested in all aspects of science. At that time, I didn't know I wanted to be an astronomer or a physicist or a chemist or what aspect of science to pursue. I just wanted to do science and become a scientist and learn new things and discover new things.
Did you have a telescope when you were a kid?
Ooh, depends on when you think when you define being a kid. So I had a toy telescope when I was about your age, right? But not a serious one because it was very cloudy and rainy where I stayed and not very dark. But when I was about 15, that's when I started to have access to real telescopes that can start to do, you can start to really see some cool astrophysical objects in the distant reaches of the universe. So I think I was still a kid when I was 15. So I think that counts. That was the first time I got my hands on real telescopes. And then when I went to Cornell University, there in the freshman dorms there was this 14-inch refractor telescope, and that telescope was not used for science. It was purely used for fun. So the students that were at Cornell would get together and every Friday night and just point that telescope to beautiful places in our galaxy and look through it with an eyepiece. So that was a lot of stargazing and just enjoying the beauty of the universe just for fun, for no class, for no project, just to have some fun. And we would invite everybody who was on campus to come and join us and take a peek at the universe with this telescope.
Do you remember how you got interested in space first? What made you find space so cool?
So I love space. Of course, as a child, everyone dreams of being an astronaut and getting onto a rocket and going up and exploring the universe with your own eyes. But as I got older, I realized that my eyes are not that powerful. So there's only so much I can do if I went up to space myself. So I decided that instead of being an astronaut, I'm going to become an astrophysicist. And instead of sending myself into space, I'll work on sending telescopes into space. Because telescopes are immensely powerful, right? Look at my eyes; they're like teeny tiny things, right? But imagine a telescope that is that big. If it's so big, it can actually collect data and take pictures from the far reaches of the universe, right? From moments after the Big Bang, we can try to study it. We can build instruments and cameras that are way more powerful. They're many orders of magnitude than my eyes. They can look in colors that my eyes can't even imagine, right? Redder than my eye can ever see, bluer than my eye can ever see, more energetic than my eye can ever see. So I just realized that, instead of being an astronomer myself, I'm strapping myself onto a seat and getting launched into space. Well, that would be really cool and would give me quite the thrill. It would be the best roller coaster ever. It would not be as fun for unraveling the mysteries of the universe. So I decided to get into this business of actually trying to launch telescopes into space and new cameras into space. And now I get a real thrill about, new telescopes going into space and opening up new windows into the universe because they have much better eyes than mine.
Okay. What did you find space so interesting that you decided to become
An astrophysicist?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I am an astrophysicist and I love space, mostly because space is just beautiful. It is such a vast universe, and there are so many very simple questions that we don't know the answer to. That even today, right? Even today, just by me and my students doing some research, taking some new data with telescopes, we can find the answers to some very fundamental questions. And to me, that's the most exciting thing about being an astronomer, is that very basic textbook questions that I can talk to you about, talk to my son or daughter about, right? I can or my mother about, right? These are questions that I can find answers to today. And we as a human race have barely explored the tip of the iceberg when it comes to understanding our universe. So there's a lot of very fundamental things that we are still learning about our universe, and it's very exciting to be part of this journey of understanding and unraveling the mysteries of our universe.
What is the coolest thing you've ever seen through a telescope?
The coolest thing that I've seen through a telescope is two stars merge and give birth to a black hole. And when this happens, it's actually really, really bright in the infrared wave bands, which are very, very cold wave bands. And we see many, many elements in the periodic table being synthesized. So this dance where you see two stars spin around each other, merge, give birth to a black hole, that's by far the coolest thing I've seen. And I saw it on August 17th, 2017. I even remember the date. Just like you remember birthdays, right?
Have you ever seen something like in the two galaxies merging or something like that?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. When two galaxies merge, galaxies in the center of them have supermassive black holes. So with this telescope that we have at Palomar Observatory, we've seen two supermassive black holes come close together and show signs that they will merge in the near future. But galaxies are so big, right, that the main action that you see are in their centers, when these two big gravity wells from the supermassive black holes start to interact. So with the Zwicky Transient Facility, which is a telescope at Palomar Observatory, we've seen some evidence of supermassive black holes merging.
Hi, this is Madison from the Kaidooverse. I'm glad you are enjoying this first episode of Curious Kadets podcast. Be sure to check out our new and stellar snack, Choco Comets, which comes in a space-themed box which can be made into a 3D rocket. Rocket-shaped snack packs, and an amazing Kaidoo quizzes activity sheet. Blasters on!
This Choco Comets space-themed box by Kaidoo Kids looks so cool, and there is so much to it. Why don't you show us, Michael?
This cool box! Cool instructions! Kaidoo quizzes!
Oh, that's so fun!
Break the code? Spot the difference? I love spot the difference.
Look at those fun rocket ships!
There's peanut butter, mint crunch, crunchy orange, yummy berry, blueberry blast, double chocolate. I love double chocolate.
So is that the one you want to try first?
Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah.
Really cool box because I can make a rocket out of this box, and I'm really excited to make it.
That's cool. Michael, what do you like about it?
I like the activity sheet, I like the food, I like the rocket.
You like it all.
Yeah.
Who is your favorite scientist or astronomer and why?
That's a tough question. Now that I'm a professor at Caltech, I've had the privilege of meeting live some of my biggest inspirations. So there's no, I would say, one astronomer that comes to mind, right? I mean, if you talk about sort of historically, like at Caltech, where I work, the desk that I work in, that desk belongs to Professor Fritz Zwicky. And this is the professor who actually first discovered neutron stars, supernovae, the very first things that we know about cosmic fireworks. So certainly he's an inspiration, but I know I was born a bit too late in life to actually meet him. So I haven't met him. But, since I've been around, I've had the privilege of meeting some professors like Professor Stephen Hawking, Professor Kip Thorne, right? Professor Kip Thorne recently won the Nobel Prize. And these are people, this professor actually taught me everything I know about general relativity and gravity, right? So certainly these are also inspirations. And then I've been even luckier because I've had mentors like Professor Wendy Friedman, Professor Fiona Harrison, who have been absolutely fantastic mentors to me. And they're still around. They still give me advice. So the list of people who inspire me is very long. In fact, I get to work with them every day and walk down the hallways, surrounded by people who inspire me and motivate me and keep this profession really fun.
The person who found neutron stars, where did he come from?
So his name is Professor Fritz Zwicky, and he was originally from Switzerland, and he was a professor at Caltech. And do you know what a neutron is? It's one of the most fundamental particles that make an atom. So just a couple of years, barely 2 years after the discovery of a single neutron, right, this particle existing, Professor Fritz Zwicky and Professor Walter Bade proposed that in the universe, when massive stars explode, they could actually form cores which are densely bound packets of neutron stars. So lots and lots of neutrons can come together in a size that is smaller than the city of Pasadena, right? It's less than 10 kilometers in size. You could pack about the sun's mass into 10 kilometers, extremely, extremely dense. Like one little teaspoon of that is not something you would want to hold in your hand. But this intensely high gravitational object is what is called a neutron star. And this was proposed barely 2 years after we discovered the particle neutron itself. So it was a very fundamental discovery. And now, of course, we've seen neutron stars directly in the act of forming gravitational waves as they spin around each other. They merge with other black holes. They merge with each other and form black holes. We've actually seen gravitational waves, which are ripples in the fabric of space-time, when you have these balls of neutron stars. So it was predicted in the 1930s, right? I mean, a century later, we've now seen vivid evidence of them existing in many different forms.
What was the most exciting part of your journey?
What was the most exciting part of my journey? I think the most exciting part of my journey is that I am excited every day. I learn something new every single day. And it's really exciting when you discover something new, like when I discover a new star in the sky that nobody knows about, that we just saw. And that's going to be a flash of light. That's going to be brilliant, but only last for a small amount of time, right? That's very exciting. Lately, I get excited when at 2 a.m. my student calls me and says that, oh my goodness, I found something that we've never seen before. Let's get out of bed and let's find every telescope in the world that can actually collect data on this object before it fades away. So quite literally, this act of the study that I do of trying to understand the universe, look for these cosmic fireworks, which are these flashes of light in them, is something where you're excited enough to want to jump out of bed at 2 a.m. and collect data, right? So it literally keeps us up at night and keeps us on our toes. And it is the joy of finding something that we haven't seen before and learning something that we as humanity have not known before is what makes this profession so fun and makes this job of being a astrophysicist so exciting.
Okay. What is the coolest discovery you've ever made about space?
Yeah, so the coolest discovery I've ever made is when is figuring out where the elements in the universe come from, right? So, for example, your teeth have calcium in them, right? But until a few years ago, we had no idea where calcium in the universe was made. So I actually found these very rare explosions where you actually see calcium being made and you catch them in the act of making the calcium. So that was one of the first mysteries that I solved about elements. Then another one, more recent one, was when I figured out where heavy elements were made, right? Things like gold and platinum and silver and neodymium and actinides and lanthanides of different sorts. So these are many, many elements that are so heavy and that are so difficult to form, right? Because inside the nucleus, you have to combine all these neutrons and protons together and overcome the repulsive forces such that you can actually make a nucleus that's stable and make this new element. That finding these things in the act of formation is we've only seen it once before, and it was really fun to be part of that discovery and see these elements being formed and catching them red-handed, right? So you can actually understand this in every single color of light and paint a full color picture of what is happening when these elements formed. How do they get distributed? How do they eventually make it to Earth, right? How do they eventually make people like you and me? How do they eventually make all the things that we take for granted around us, right? I mean, where does all that come from originally? So it's really fun for me to try to understand the building blocks of life and the building blocks of the world and universe we live in. and discover, where that is made.